call the meeting to order. Pursuant to state executive orders, which suspend in-person requirements, we are following the electronic attendance and voting section of the bylaws. Can I get an approval of the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda.
Great. Okay, all in favor? Samantha?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
A motion on the minutes?
I will move that we, there we go, sorry. That we accept the minutes as presented.
Right.
I did change, I did make a change that I want to make you guys aware of. I'll show it. That's actually Greg made me aware of. I'm about to show it to you. So the under board members, the roster was incorrect, and I have corrected that.
Okay, so amending the motion to reflect the correction of the roster.
Yes.
In a second.
I second.
Okay, all in favor, Samantha?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Amy, yes. We are open for public comments electronically. And Rick, did we receive any electronic comments?
We did.
Okay,
We did not.
very good. Then we'll go on to old business. And on the Capitol, Greg, I'm curious about how you feel the progress of the landscaping outside is going.
Well, actually, I not very good.
Not very good.
Yeah, it doesn't look great.
In fact, today I drove over there because I wanted to see it before the meeting this afternoon, and I'm disappointed. I'm gonna go back and I'll follow up tomorrow. Just where things are at. Rick, I mean, obviously you've been there every day. Are they hydrating? Are they doing?
Yes, they are. They are watering, and we didn't see anything until this week. And now you can see some green starting to come up. But
yeah, I mean, it looked like on the south end of the lot, it looked like there's some green sprouting. But anyhow, I'll follow up tomorrow sometime and can report back tomorrow night.
Great. Do you feel like they got the rocks out? Because grass does not grow in rocks.
I didn't walk out there, but I know when I had some concern when I drove by there when they were, preparing the land. It kind of looked to me like they weren't getting a lot of the rocks out. So it's Christy Foltz did the job, or whoever they subcontracted it to. And I'll talk to Public Works, and if we're dissatisfied, if the city's dissatisfied, there's retainage that we haven't paid them yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll follow up tomorrow with Public Works and the library staff, the library janitorial staff.
Yeah, it didn't look like on the north side there was any progress.
Yeah.
But I mean, because I was there yesterday and I saw them out there watering, and that was actually going to be something I brought up too. So I'm glad you did, Amy.
And the east side though, I mean, it looks like Moonscape or something. I mean, it's just gray. It's disappointing thus far. Let's hope it gets better, but I'll follow up.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments on the building?
I have a question about the door on the north side, Rick. Like, what is up with that?
yeah, well, there was a pane of glass that was broken.
I did know that.
Broke it, and then we just shut that off to we got the new pane in. It is in.
Rick, was that the damage?
It's all open. Yeah.
Was that was the damage that was done
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's all open now.
Okay. Yeah, it just wasn't open as of yesterday, so.
Yeah, it was yesterday afternoon that we opened it.
Perfect.
Okay, well then we'll go on to new business. And Rick, I am sorry, and I did not catch this, but in the in the many versions, evidently I downloaded the wrong one and I do not have the check register. And
Okay, well, I'll pull it up and we'll take a look at it. So here's a big one.
okay, can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I can show it to you. So this is over 2,000 newspapers that we have access to because of that. That's our yearly subscription to it. It includes Herald and Review, full text searching for the entire run. So well used, used by us, but used by patrons as well. So.
And is that available electronically to patrons?
This is I think this is from home. I think you can get this from home, but let me double check on that. I think you, if you go to research on our website,
Okay,
and then newspapers,
okay,
and then click on America's Newspapers, that should get you there.
okay, cool. And this is something we've done in the past.
Yes, yeah, we've had it for a while. They've added some bells and whistles, more pictures this year, things like that. But let me get back to the check register itself. So most of the book stuff that you know is pretty standard fare.
Standard. Yep.
So this note is actually wrong. It wasn't a travel expense for Ms. Carroll. This was registration for the Illinois Library Association conference.
Next week.
Yeah,
Okay.
and these are some staff registrations also for that.
And is that going to be in person or virtual?
It'll be virtual. So that'll be
And
interesting.
we'll see a report on some of the
Yes, yep,
takeaways.
absolutely.
Mine will be on the board meeting, well, I'm going the whole time, but my focus will be on the board sessions.
Sure.
I'll present.
So these COVID expenses, we've already been, I believe it was this month, we were already reimbursed for through the Illinois Cures Act, or the Illinois Cures Grant. And those were really the notable expenses, if I recall.
Okay, let's,
Oh, World Book also is virtual. So, World Book Encyclopedia for Kids. Oops, sorry about that.
in the children's department will publicize that availability.
Yes, and we've got somebody who's working from home who's excited to begin to really kind of lean into marketing the resources as opposed to programming.
Books. Well, I mean, when you think about all the challenges people are going through with homeschool, with, the kids at home,
Exactly.
that it just seems like it's really crucial to our mission to be the central of the community, to be promoting these resources.
And here's another one that goes along with that really well. This is our annual cost for tutor.com. And that is, you can get one-on-one tutoring sessions online for, I think it's through high school. Actually, they'll do some, even college level, they'll review your paper and critique it, give you some feedback on it.
Well, you can't do enough promoting here,
Right.
reaching out to specific teachers, teacher groups, teacher administration,
Yeah, and we've been, and John Shirley's been doing a fantastic job of developing those relationships, at least with the library side of the DPS 61. He's really stepped up his efforts of late. And
And so then the library people are referring kids to our resources, then.
That's what
okay,
we're hoping.
Yeah,
Happy or not, that's our little thing at the exit where you press the smiley or the frowny face. That is our annual fee for that. That's the reporting service of that. This from $451 from Dynagraphics is for a backdrop for Governor Pritzker when he was here. Actually, that was billed to us in error, and that is now going to be the city is going to pay for that. And our temp, that's for a couple months of temping there. So
okay.
Okay.
And that's normal book expenses. Okay. Can I have a motion then on the check register?
I'll
I
move
move to approve the check register.
and I'll second it.
Okay. And all in favor, Samantha,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Amy, yes. Great, okay. And then we'll look at the budget report, which is the one that is the alternate lines, telling us where we are through September. And it looks like, can you just talk a little bit? I know that all other revenue items are a whole bunch of lines, which you consolidated here so we can see the big picture, but it looks like we're running a little bit behind on those lines as well. Rick?
Sure. We are at about 72%, and it's misleading because here's the big difference maker. We put a line that's other grants that's essentially a placeholder in case we do
Okay,
a large grant, and that's $75,000, and we have not applied for such a grant. So you pull that, and it has a corresponding expense line too.
well, and it might make more sense to just make this 3 lines rather than 2 lines, pull the other grants out so we can see everything else.
Sure. Yep.
That's a fine tuning thing.
Hey, Rick,
Yes.
I neglected to bring the report with me. Can you put it up on the screen? Is it
Yeah.
possible? Thank you.
Yeah, and I can show you I can also show you the detail of this if you'd like to take a quick look to show at the revenues.
I'm good with this.
Okay.
I believe you that it's the grant line. Okay, so the payroll line, slightly behind, you've done the payout of the long-term employee, you've hired the temporary, you're reallocating the job. So is that's a comfortable level?
Yeah, and I've been having trouble somehow populating that in my projection part, but I've got it ready to go up on the screen, the correct one, and I can show you that whenever you're ready to where I think we're going to be at year's end.
Okay, I did not see, nothing else stood out from me that would look like it was an issue. You're below the running rate on virtually everything, right at it on the allocations, of course. And so we could look at payroll since that's
So for
the biggest thing.
Yeah, my projection is we're going to land a little bit under what we budgeted. The middle column here is the budgeted, and here's where I think we're going to land. But what was really off was medical insurance and IMRF. That's based on a percentage, and I just punch it in for everybody. And the number in the middle column, the 205, 499, and 527, 800 is what I came up with. And we were, there's about a $70,000 difference right there, and that accounts for most of the personnel, why we're coming in under on that.
Greg, I've got a question.
Hey, Rick, I'm in those, when let's as we do the 2021 budget, because we've got a pretty elaborate, Donna Kobius has a pretty elaborate way she's calculating all that stuff. And we don't, when we're doing the budget for the city, we don't do the budget for the library the same way we do the budget for the city, because you're doing the budget for the library. So we're not kind of checking those things, but maybe you and I can talk offline with Donna and, just
Sure.
maybe make sure that whatever assumptions you're using for the IMRF and the medical insurance are the right ones.
Okay.
That seems great. Greg, I've got a question for you, just out of curiosity. What did the IMRF contribution rate do versus last year? Do you remember? Up or down?
Amy, it wasn't a big change.
Okay,
Let's say that the rate that's going to be in 2021 versus 20, it wasn't a big change. I don't think it was a decline. I think it went up a little bit, but it wasn't big. It wasn't something that caught our attention as a problem.
okay. Just curious.
And actually, and the other thing, Rick, what we did, your employees are on the city's healthcare plan. And one of the things we did for budgeting purposes, we basically reduced the tax that we're charging all the departments, including the library, for the healthcare insurance, for the kind of the employer portion of it. So we need to check that assumption, because we took it down by quite a bit. We were able to because claims have been overall been relatively flat, and we've built up some cash reserves in the employee benefit fund that we decided we're going to kind of harvest those back to the departments, just as as a kind of a mitigation of some of the revenue shortfalls we've had.
Yeah,
as we go into 2021. So let's touch base on those to make sure you don't over budget.
with 221, with 2021, yeah, definitely. I noticed that.
Okay.
So, this kind of shows you better where the revenue shortfall is. You can see very clearly it's the other grants here.
Right.
We've 13,000, and that's essentially stuff from our friends group, and it falls well short of the 75,000. The expenditures are low too. So I'm looking at for operating budget, I'm looking at coming in quite a bit under as well. So we're actually that's not making a whole lot of sense, because I'm only seeing a couple of things that are it is. We're looking at probably about $160,000 to the good for us.
That's good news. That's great.
Yeah, it is good news, and but again, some of that is also this operating expense shortfall is because that's just a placeholder. That's $75,000 right there. So it's a pretty good place to be, and
So let's say we get past the end of this year, and you're thinking you're going to have another surplus, exceeding expenses this year of what, somewhere in the 70,000 range? Was that the number or something? Or
about 150,000.
Okay, 150. So
Yeah.
so let's say that's the number, and we add that to the to the capital funds we have, and so we'll have a nice chunk of change there.
I mean, and that's you guys' decision on what to do with it, but I
Right.
would certainly say that's a pretty wise thing to do.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's a discussion to occur. Maybe one of the next meetings is, what are your ideas and plans? If we got money, we don't have to run out and spend it. But at the same time, what capital needs do we have for instructional type stuff? That might be time to spend the money.
Well, and also continued, ways to reach out to the community and
Right.
make better use of what we already have.
Right. Exactly.
So.
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, well, then we'll go on to the budget, which is the one that goes this way, right?
Yeah, I'll pull that up.
So, and once again, I'm going to put Greg on the spot. So Rick is showing property taxes being the same, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's consistent with what your expectation is?
Well, yeah, I mean, go back first, when Rick was showing the 2020 stuff, the September numbers, didn't look good, September year to date, but October 10th, the county treasurer made another distribution. And so theoretically now, and this was the fourth distribution, theoretically now, Amy, and Samantha and Rick, we're theoretically where we should be in the normal cycle of two distributions, June and September, okay? And we're ahead of the game, okay? I mean, the collection rate that we have received thus far, the distribution rate we received thus far this year, is ahead of where we were at this time last year, okay? So we've already received about, I think it's like 96% of the full year tax levy. It'll show up in the October numbers because, the distribution came recorded as revenue on October 10th. So that's good news. At least for me, it gives me a lot more comfort that, everything's going to be fine this year, property tax wise. For next year, it appears that we were going to take something before the council. We're at the first meeting in October or November 2nd. We're going to take some informational thing before the council on the tax levy. So I've been talking to the city manager, and what the appearance is right now is council doesn't want to increase property taxes.
Right.
So any growth we're going to get is through annexations or just organic growth of assessed value. So probably I don't see. I mean, I'm hoping that when I work on the tax levy in the next days, trying to estimate things out, that it'll be such that we can put some organic growth in there so we can give more money to the library. But I don't know that answer yet. But whatever it is, it's not going to be a lot of money. Okay. Hoping we can, maybe get 1% or something like that, but it's not going to be a great deal of money.
Hey, it's a win if it doesn't go down.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
And
I can tell you, it's not going to go down because the worst case that we'll prepare is the dollars to be raised will be flat.
okay.
Right? And then only the tax rate moves depending
Right.
on what the assessed value turns out to be.
and
So it's not going to go down, and hoping it'll go up by some nominal amount.
And I think that's essentially what I'm asking for here is essentially a nominal amount. And there may be other ways to approach this. I mean, if you guys want to keep it flat, but I just want to say it's 0.4% change. And it's an average over the last 5 budget years of 0.8%.
Okay.
So that's pretty minimal, but there may be another approach could be you just roll over some of the surplus into next year's operating budget. That could be another way. I'm open. I'm just showing after working with it for a couple months, I came up about $10,000 short.
Yeah,
Okay.
let me just tell you, the pilot number, that would have been a real lifeblood to the, where we've kept property taxes flat. The pilot, because of how we structured it and how it's driven, we've been able to get a lot of increases in the pilot. And the pilot number you're going to have for next year, yeah, okay, it's like the same. It's at the same level. Yeah.
That's the way I had it, and it's grown a lot in the years. I mean, it was under 200,000.
Yeah.
2014. So
Okay. Well,
it certainly has grown a lot. I don't have any quarrel with that. And this is my best estimate. I think that's going to go down, but it usually comes in a little better than I think.
yeah.
I give a rather pessimistic view of the personal property replacement tax.
That's a good assessment.
That usually comes in a little better than I expect. But
Happy surprises are good, Rick. I mean, I think I applaud your taking conservative assumptions as long as
Right.
they're, realistic conservative.
Yes, and I've done that also. Let's say we, we don't have a pandemic for most of next year. These numbers right here will get better enough to make up that $10,000. Okay, these are sort of based on a pandemic year. All right, so I don't know whether who knows what to expect next year, but that's, again, I certainly, this is what I'm asking you guys to consider. I need to find 1,000, so we could also pull it from the capital fund. There's other ways to do it.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you, Rick, on the PPRT number, for 2021, the number that we've got for the library, that at least we're projecting is 339,270.
that's more than we budgeted this year.
Yeah, well, it's a couple, it's a couple or $100 more or something like that.
Well, that makes, I mean, if we change if we change that, then we can leave that property tax flat again, if that's the wish.
Well, I mean, what I would, again, we can talk offline, but I would think, because we've been pretty conservative with our assumptions, we could talk more about this if you're comfortable putting that in, but my belief is we could probably take that number up to essentially flat with 2020, because in 2020, we're getting more revenue than we expected. Actually, our projection for this year for you is like 387,000 for this year.
I'm projecting a little less than that, but
yeah,
better than budget. I'm projecting 362.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that, but I think we could take that number up, which essentially we'll still hope to do property taxes where we get some more money for the library.
Well,
at least would end up with a revenue budget that's at worst case flat.
But tomorrow will be the last board meeting before we have to send something to city council. So I was hoping that this committee tonight could come up with the final numbers to recommend to the full board tomorrow. So if you think that's, I mean, it's you guys' decision, but you think
why do you say? Go ahead, Amy.
I would vote for being more conservative on the revenue, because we're headed into, we're still headed into headwinds, right? And I mean, that it might be okay to move to say almost to flat, but you've looked at your expenses based on this, and I don't know, Greg, I interrupted you.
No, that's fine. That's fine. No, I was just going to say, so Rick, I know, well, why could the board, could we defer approval because of how the library budget flows into the city? Could we defer the board approval till the board meeting in November?
That's certainly, if that's reasonable to the city and that's reasonable to this board, absolutely.
Because from the city's budget standpoint, the big driver in the city is the general fund. The rest of the stuff, kind of is what it is, other than some utility stuff and so on. So, council's not really going to weigh in on the library budget because that's what the library board is doing. So, we've got essentially till the last minute before it goes to council for approval in probably early December to stick something in there.
Okay, let's do that then.
So
Very comfortable with that.
maybe we do that. Maybe you discuss it with the board tomorrow. We just don't vote on it. We see how everything plays out and we vote on it in November.
Great.
And then Rick, you can just present what you presented to us today with this is preliminary. We talked in finance about some adjustments and questions. You'll see the final in November, so we don't have 10 million copies. Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about the big picture on staffing?
Well, we've got, we did some hiring this year. I mean, overall, the staff has grown a little bit, but we are also anticipating some attrition in other departments. But until that attrition happens, I'm budgeting for what we have. There's been too many, I'll tell you why. I know there's been too many years that someone has said to me in January, I'll be retiring this year, and it doesn't happen for 2, 3, 4 more years. So although and then you have unexpected retirements, that you didn't see coming at all, or just folks leaving. But this is based on and Robert and I are looking at a change that actually will bring this number down a little bit. So that might be very useful to incorporate. But we're looking at a change in staffing levels in the circulation department that could change that number. Not hugely, but it'll bring it down. So giving me a little extra time would really help with that. But
Hey, Rick, what's your head count? What's your authorized head count?
I think we're
full-time positions and part-time positions.
So 42 bodies and about 33 or 34 full-time equivalent.
Okay. And that number has been that number for the last several years, correct?
No, we've inched up.
Okay.
We've inched up, but we've done some hiring of part-timers. So some jobs we've split in two, and we've shifted where people are. So while one department may be shrinking a little bit, other departments are growing.
Okay.
The PRS, Programs, Resources, and Services, has grown a little bit and grew a little bit faster than I had planned. But that's because I started to look at who am I paying to sit on the front desk and wait on patrons, and it was 30 to 40 hours a week of division heads. People I'm paying to do other things. So we decided to fill some of those spots with part-timers, and that's helped. And we have a long-range plan for addressing the minimum wage increase, which does not affect us until 2024. But we have a long-range plan of being prepared for that, and probably would get us off into the weeds in this meeting, but we can talk 4 years in. We've talked about it before, but it bears repeating so everybody really understands it. But we're going to shrink the number of job descriptions. There'll be fewer bodies and fewer job descriptions. We're going to have more people doing more things, and we're going to avoid the question of why isn't the rising tide floating all boats. We're going to have more expectations. We're going to increase people's responsibilities, their duties, and their pay. But there's going to be fewer of them that'll pay for itself.
Samantha and Amy, and maybe this is discussion to go through in 2021, but when you look at the revenue, in the near term, I don't know what's going to change. That's going to give us more revenue for the library. We got to believe that the property tax, the biggest driver, is going to, for the most part, stay flat because the council doesn't want to tax more. And if assessed value isn't growing, we're basically looking at a flat future.
Yep.
So, I don't see a lot of upside on revenue. So as inflation continues to happen, longer term, what are we doing to kind of manage things, to balance things, and maybe it's a discussion that needs to start, as we go forward, to just, what is the future going to be staff wise and otherwise, if we don't have new revenue dollars coming in.
Right.
Yeah, we've had.
Rick County,
we've had
How
to get
many-
go ahead.
So I was going to say, how many people does the minimum wage affect?
Well, nobody yet.
Well, I mean, like in the future,
That-
like at our
Again,
current staffing levels.
I don't plan on affecting anybody, but if we didn't change anything, it depends on, so it would hit, in 2024, it would hit our job level 3, okay? But there's 3A, B, C, it's a step system up to H, okay? And it depends on how many new people we have there. I think in 2024, and I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me, but I think in 2024, it's going to affect 3As, Bs, Cs, and Ds. And how many we would have in 2024 if we change nothing? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Because-
Okay.
But in other words, it's a fraction of the total 33 full-time equivalents. I mean, it's not a huge number. Greg, to your
Correct.
point, I applaud anything to look further out. And the other thing that I think is a big picture kind of thing that we need, obviously the council's very aware of, you're very aware of. If population is declining,
Yeah,
being responsible, we have to reflect that.
yeah.
Yeah, and here's what's
You're
happened.
going to sit down with Greg and go through in detail your benefit model with the staffing you propose so that you're sure that the 21 numbers look right. Then when we get to the next page, service to office equipment, I see you've taken down. Hopefully that what you've done this year is going to work. Remind me, and I'm sorry to ask this question, what is the general fund on this in this document?
So what's changed here, and Greg can correct me at any point, but these are services that are provided to us by the city of. And that includes.
Okay, so this is insurance, et cetera, all that stuff.
That's not the insurance. That's the administrative costs, the bookkeeping, and this year human resources, which we use quite a bit.
And maybe you could just list that in the note.
Well, that's what we used to do, and now
That'd be great.
it's been combined.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so-
Amy, there used to be essentially what that is, that's accounting,
Right,
payroll,
right.
human resources, those kind of things, and purchasing. And we used to have a line item for each one of those things. But the city manager, when he came in a year ago or a year and a half ago, as we were doing the budget, for whatever reason, it was trivial, but he wanted to combine that into one line called the general fund, not just for the library, but for the whole of the city. So we did that. So it's less transparent as to what it is, but that's essentially what it is.
Okay, Rick, you can just put in city
In
services.
the notes, sure.
Yeah. So while we're on that though, why did that go up so much?
Well, we hadn't in the past been for I guess of the largesse of the city, they charge for human resources in the past, and yet we use them. We use them quite a bit, and this is the first year that an allocation for human resources has shown up.
Okay,
And I want to say it's like $30,000. Okay, you're not going to find a human resources department for 30 grand. You're not going to be able to do that.
you don't have to convince me.
I argue with district libraries all the time. They say, "Oh, why don't you get independent of your city?" I'm like, "How much does your HR department cost?"
Right. Okay, are there any other?
Note the rent. In May, the rent goes up. Look like 2.5%.
Okay.
That allocation will go up. So in 2022, that'll be higher because this happens in May.
Okay.
It raises in May. So the rest is just our
And then
own
the
trust.
computer software line went up. 5,000?
Yes. Yeah, I just increased costs and we're doing more things. We're looking at things like scheduling software and that sort of thing. So we're doing more things with it and, you know, prices go up on it.
Is that the annual, those are the annual subscriptions plus any like computer software? Or is that just?
Now that's computer stuff. The annual subscriptions go under the books and other.
Well, I don't mean like our patron subscriptions. I mean like the software for the circulation, and that's what I mean.
Well, software for the circulation is actually under membership because that's part of our membership in Share. Okay, and that's the biggest part of our.
Maybe I'm thinking of like.
But like our email software, for instance, our licensure for email, that would fall under.
Okay, or like the check-in system, like the.
No, that we put under office and service to office equipment.
Okay.
Because it's about,
Well,
that's.
Okay, Rick,
Good
so in 5
question.
words or less, tell us what's on that line.
Well, there's no way to do it in 5 words or less, Amy. It's all of the software that we use. It's our email software. It's our like our firewall. It's our, you know, some of it's not very similar to anything else, like our software system for our curbside delivery, that sort of thing. So
that's kind of like where I was going. Like, is it like the stuff that we use to function, or is it the stuff that our patrons are using? But it sounds like it's not. They're two different things. They're kind of like one's working internally, and then the others, you know, could be under different line items.
And so Rick, you're planning on price increases rather than some big new initiative in this.
Yeah, I don't have it. No, well, there's one thing that we're looking at, but it's not big. And that's scheduling software. And I'm not really 100% sold on the need for it yet, but
Okay.
we're demoing another one this month. So.
Okay, well then, based on the discussion and Greg's suggestions, then I would propose that we thank you for this, and we'll, it could be presented tomorrow just as an information item, background information item, but we'll look at it again at our November meeting with the idea of board action at our Board of Trustees November meeting. Does that sound right? So
I'll move to table it.
yeah, table it till next
Okay.
month.
Yep.
Good.
Okay, great. And I
Okay.
have one other item under new business to just mention that Rick and the Decatur Public Library are hosting a manned absentee ballot drop-off on the morning of October 24th, 9 to noon. Josh Tanner is going to have 2 election judges and court security available for dropping off. I heard somebody who went to I think it was the Forsyth Library, was this Saturday. There were about 75 people. So that was like a good crowd, but not overwhelming. And we're hoping that by the time we get to the 24th, this Saturday is Mount Zion, and then we'll be the 3rd.
Is it going to be in the Madden, or is it just in?
Yes.
Okay.
It's
Yes.
gonna be what?
In the Madden.
Great, thanks for doing
Yes.
it, Rick.
I didn't do it. This is Amy and Samantha broke this. I think Amy called out the big dogs from the
Yeah, she did.
Good.
Well, and I also think that the voting in the clerk's office has been pretty smooth and pretty consistently, good. So it's possible everybody will be done by election day.
Yeah, I hope so.
That's the only other item I had. Anybody else got any comments?
I'm good.
Thank you.
No, but Nope. I will move to adjourn, and Rick, can I talk to you?
Yep.
Okay, all right.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Samantha,
Yep.
Greg,
Yes.
Amy, yes. Oh, we will wave goodbye and see you tomorrow.
Bye.
ya.
See you tomorrow.